Jayong Vishnupad Paramhansha Paribrajakacharya Ashtuttar Shatu Shri Srimad Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mathura Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Shamabeto Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gaurango, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namong Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschatta Deshatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we will discuss about the third verse of Shikshashtakam, which has been written on the board. Trinadopi Sunichena Taroriva Shahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Trinadapi, than downtrodden grass. Sunichena, being lower. Taraha, than a tree. Eva, like. Shahishnuna, with tolerance. Amanina, without being puffed up by false pride. Manadena, giving respect to all. Kirtaniyaha, to be chanted. Sada, always. Hari, the holy name of the Lord. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, but is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. Please repeat after me. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, but is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. So, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is giving a sort of purport to this verse. We will read those verses also. উত্তম হইয়া আপনাকে মানে তৃণাধাম, দুই প্রকারে সহিষ্ণুতা করে বৃক্ষ সম। These are the symptoms of one who chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Although he is very exalted, he thinks himself lower than the grass on the ground. And like a tree, he tolerates everything in two ways. বৃক্ষ যেন কাটিলেও কিছু না বলয়, শুকাইয়া মৌলেও কারে পানি না মাগয়. When a tree is cut down, it does not protest. And even when drying up, it does not ask anyone for water. যেই যে মাগয় তারে দেয় আপন ধন, ঘর্ম বৃষ্টি সহে আনের করয়ে রক্ষণ. The tree delivers its fruits, flowers, and whatever else it possesses to anyone and everyone. It tolerates scorching heat and torrents of rain, yet it still gives shelter to others. উত্তম হইয়া বৈষ্ণব হবে নিরভিমান, জীবে সম্মান দিবে জানি কৃষ্ণ অধিষ্ঠান. Although a Vaishnav is most exalted person, he is prideless and gives all respect to everyone, knowing everyone to be the resting place of Krishna. এই মতো হইয়া যেই কৃষ্ণ নাম লয়, শ্রীকৃষ্ণ চরণে তার প্রেম উপজয়. If one chants the holy name of Lord Krishna in this manner, he will certainly awaken his dormant love for Krishna's lotus feet. কহিতে কহিতে প্রভুর দৈন্য বাড়িল, শুদ্ধ ভক্তি কৃষ্ণ ঠাই মাগিতে লাগিল. As Lord Chaitanya spoke in this way, his humility increased, and he began praying to Krishna that he could discharge pure devotional service. So, we selected this verse specifically because now we are having a seminar on Harinam Chintamani, a book written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur based on Haridas Thakur's teachings on the holy name. This Harinam Chintamani, which literally means the touchstone of the holy name, Harinam. And that's why while we are discussing about the glory of the holy name, we are also discussing about what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said about the holy name. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the perfect understanding of the holy name through these 8 verses known as Shikshashtakam. Yesterday we discussed the first 2 verses, and today we are discussing the 3rd verse. The first verse actually described what the holy name is, what it does, what is the effect of chanting the holy name. And the second verse is revealing the identity of the holy name being none other than Krishna himself. The holy name, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is Krishna himself. Krishna himself descended in the form of transcendental sound vibration. And in the second verse, Krishna actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described that Krishna invested his entire potency in all his names. Krishna has many, many names. Bahudha. Nam Nam Akari Bahudha. Bahu means many. And Srila Prabhupada translated that as hundreds and millions of names of Krishna. And each name has been endowed with entire potency of Krishna. That is how powerful Krishna's names are. And in this way, there is no difference between Krishna's name and Krishna himself. And the third verse, this one, is describing the qualification to chant the holy name, the eligibility to chant the holy name. How should one chant the holy name? Trinadopi sunichena. Becoming, trina means grass, blade of grass. And trinad opi, the grass is lying on the ground, everyone is stepping on the grass and no, grass doesn't complain. Just accepts it. But becoming even more humble than a blade of grass. That is how a Vaishnava should be. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is pointing out. That means a Vaishnava should be completely devoid of pride. Pride or false ego is the last snare of this material nature. With this false ego, we are tied down to this material nature. It is due to our false pride that we have developed this tendency to lord over this material nature, exploit this material nature. It's due to our mistaken identity, false ego. And this false ego makes us feel that we are greater than the greatest. Everything is subordinate to us, everything is meant for our enjoyment. That is the purpose of the false ego. So, a devotee who is chanting the holy name of the Lord should become free from false ego, meaning he should become situated in his actual identity. And his actual identity is that he is an eternal servant of Krishna. Jiver sarup hoy, Krishner nitya das. So real identity is our sarup. Our actual identity is that we all are servants of Krishna. Jiver swarup. That is our real identity. And our mistaken identity, our false identity is that I am the Lord and Master of whatever I purvey, whatever I perceive. I am the Lord and Master of the entire material nature. That is the mistaken identity. So in order to receive our real identity, in order to become situated in our real identity, we have to get rid of our false identity. And that's why Mahaprabhu is reminding us. What is the nature of becoming situated in our real identity? I am more insignificant than a blade of grass. I am more humble than a blade of grass. Sunichina, I am more degraded than a blade of grass. and taroriva shahishnuna. Shahishnu, tolerant as a tree. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is expressing these two qualities of a tree. What is the characteristic of a tree or a quality of a tree? Someone is cutting the tree. The tree doesn't protest. And the tree is drying out. The tree doesn't ask for water. Meaning just accepting whatever situation is we are put into, just we accept that. And that is the characteristic of a Vaishnava. Because a Vaishnava recognizes that everything that is happening is actually Krishna's arrangement. In one hand, it is Krishna's arrangement, and on the other hand, it's his own karma. Like he sees the undesirable things are results of his own karma. And the nice things that are happening is due to Krishna's mercy. Good things that are happening to him, he accepts that as due to Krishna's mercy. And the bad things that are happening to him, he considers that to be, it's due to my past karma. It could have been even worse, but by Krishna's mercy, just with a scratch, I'm just getting out of my bad karma. And that makes him tolerant. Krishna also said in Bhagavad Gita, Tang stitikshasya bharata, tolerate. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha. Prakrite, in this material nature, kriyamanani, everything is happening according to guna and karma. There are three modes of material nature: mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, and karma. Guna, karma, the way we are acting, our actions are taking place in different modes. And accordingly, we get the results. When we act in the mode of goodness, the result is good. When we act in the mode of passion, the result is suffering. And when we act in the mode of ignorance, the result is bewilderment, illusion. So these are the results, three different types of results. Due to same action can take place in three different modes. An example has been given in that respect, or an example that you can consider in this respect. Say, one is crossing the road and a bicycle hits him. So one person, after being hit, he starts to cry. Another person being hit by the bicycle in this way, he just gets up and starts to beat up the cyclist. And another person, after being hit in this way, he just brushes off the dust from his cloth and says, it's all right, it was my fault. Like I should have checked before crossing the road. Right? 3 persons got hit by the bicycle, but 3 persons are reacting in 3 different ways. The one who starts to cry after being hit, he's in a mode of ignorance. The person who beat up the cyclist, mode of passion. And the person in a mode of goodness, he says, it's actually my fault. So, and accordingly the result will be also 3 different ways. Urdhang gachanti sattastha. In a mode of goodness, the reactions are elevating. Madhye tishtati rajasa. Those who are influenced by the mode of passion, they remain in the middle. And jaghanna guna vrittischa adho gachanti tamasa. Those who are influenced by the mode of ignorance, they degrade in a lower situation. So the point is, just a devotee accepts everything as his. There is nothing that he can do about it, therefore tolerate. Things that are happening to us, what can be done? Nothing is happening by chance, nothing is happening by accident. In one hand, it is Krishna's arrangement. Gunai karmani sarvasaha. It's my action is producing the reaction. So who can I blame? So better to accept it, tolerate it. So one characteristic of a tree is that although somebody is cutting the tree doesn't protest. Although the tree is dying, drying out due to lack of water, the tree never says, oh, please give me some water, please give me some water. He just stands there and tolerates it. And not only that, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is pointing out another characteristic of a tree. The person who is cutting the tree, there is hot sun, but the tree is giving him the shade. Or there is torrents of rain, the tree is protecting him from the rain. Although that person is cutting him, but still he is benefiting him. The person is hungry, and he is cutting the tree says, take some fruits. So that is how a real Vaishnava is. So these are the characteristics of a Vaishnava. So in order to chant the holy name of the Lord, we have to come to the status of a Vaishnava. We have to become Vaishnavas. And then Mahaprabhu is pointing out, Amani. He doesn't expect any honor from anybody. Although he is most exalted, the Vaishnava situation is actually the most exalted situation in the earth planet. Not only in the earth planet, in the entire universe. Vaishnava situation is the highest. In the human society, the classifications are made according to Varnashram. 4 Varnas. Brahman, the highest of all the Varnas is Brahmana. And highest of all ashrams is Sannyasi. But a Vaishnava situation is even beyond that. He is superior to the Brahmanas. And a Vaishnava is in the highest order of sannyas, Paramahamsa. That is the status of a real Vaishnava. He is the highest living entity. But his attitude is so humble. In spite of being the highest, the greatest, the most exalted, he considers himself to be the lower than the lowest. Purisher kit hoite muishe lokishta, Haridas Thakur is saying. That I am more fallen than a worm in the stool. And he is ready to offer all the respects to others. Amani, for himself there he doesn't desire any mana or honor or recognition or worship. Whereas for others he is prepared to give all the recognition and all the honor. So when one develops this attitude, what it actually means is when one becomes a Vaishnava, then only he will be able to chant the holy name all the time. Kirtaniya Sada Hari. Then only he will be able to chant the holy name constantly, all the time. And that is the goal of life. I'll repeat the translation again. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, but is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. And that is actually the ultimate goal of life. To be able to chant the holy name all the time. And that's what the pure devotees do. That's what the residents of Vrindavan do. When Gopkumar went to Vrindavan, entered into Vrindavan, he saw some young girls picking flowers. So he asked them, "Can you please tell me where is the house of Nanda Maharaj?" No response. He heard them speaking about Krishna. Speaking about Krishna. He asked again. So he could understand, they know who Krishna is. And obviously they know where the house of Nanda Maharaj is. So he asked repeatedly. No response. Then he concluded that maybe they all are deaf. Or they are so absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, remembering Krishna, that they don't have any external consciousness. So that is the meaning of Kirtaniya Sadahari. Now all the time speaking about and hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. Shravanam, Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. So that is how a pure devotee is situated. And a pure devotee is not a resident of this world. He is a resident of the spiritual sky. That means his consciousness is always tuned to Krishna's consciousness. That's why Prabhupada used the expression Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness. Self-conscious or Krishna conscious. We have only two options. Self-conscious means body conscious. We are either body conscious and the body consciousness tends us to gratify our senses. The body is a network of senses. The nerves are like a network, the nervous system. And all the nerves are ending in 5 senses. And we are constantly desiring the gratification of the senses. That is the state of body consciousness. And Krishna consciousness is Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. We don't have to give up our activities of the senses. But those activities of the senses should be for Krishna's pleasure. We may want the gratification of our senses, or we can utilize our senses, engage our senses in serving Krishna's senses. Rishikesha. He is the Lord of the senses. Therefore, the senses should be engaged in the service of the Lord of the senses. Then only the senses will become perfectly satisfied. Otherwise, in the material nature, we are trying to gratify, we are trying to satisfy our senses, but we are never satisfied. No one in this material nature is satisfied. During one of my early encounters with Srila Prabhupada, he just told me, "You've been trying to enjoy for so many lifetimes and you can see that you're still not satisfied. So offer this life to Krishna." And then he explained why he kept on instructing that and how to, or why we should offer ourselves to Krishna. Just offer this life to Krishna. And then finally Prabhupada told, just offer this life to Krishna and see what happens. Even if nothing happens, what's the loss? It's just one life out of so many. So we can afford to take a chance. Just one life, just offer it to Krishna and see what happens. And today I can see that how Srila Prabhupada saved me. Just this one instruction. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us the greatest gift in the form of the holy name. And our goal of our life should be to constantly chant the holy name. And we are seeing from Brihad Bhagavatam3, the constant chanting actually means constantly hearing, chanting, and remembering. Hearing is also a part of chanting. Remembering also is part of chanting. So the point is that we should always, our senses, our consciousness should always be projected onto Krishna. Shouldn't be any other activity. If we allow that, then the tendency will be to run after sense gratification. Running after sense gratification means Maya. So there are two options only open to us, either Maya or Krishna. Either away from Krishna or towards Krishna. So the real purpose of our existence is to offer our consciousness to Krishna. And when we do that, then we experience the joy that everyone is hankering for. And Mahaprabhu made the perfect arrangement, gave the perfect way, and made the perfect arrangement. He gave us the holy name, and he made this arrangement. And especially Srila Prabhupada. He not only gave the holy name to us, he made the perfect arrangement through ISKCON, so that we can receive the holy name, we can cultivate the holy name, and we can protect our spiritual life. In this material nature, to maintain our spiritual life is very difficult. Maya is so strong. But Srila Prabhupada created this wonderful arrangement through ISKCON. If we just remain in ISKCON, our spiritual life will be protected. We are seeing that. So let's take full advantage of this wonderful gift of Srila Prabhupada and make our life successful. Thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Does anybody have any question? Yes, Ajay?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, you mentioned that when we are doing activities, they are under the mode of the material nature. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says too that, under the influence of time, the activities are controlled by the material nature and three modes of nature. How is it different for the practicing devotees and the pure devotees? Are their activities also influenced by that, or they are beyond that?
Let me see if I understood your question properly. Everyone is affected by the guna and karma.
Right.
Now, what is the difference between a pure devotee and an
Pure
ordinary?
devotees activities are the devotional activities, when they are 24/7 thinking of Krishna. But practicing devotees may not be 24/7 thinking of Krishna, right? So how their activities are?
Okay, good point. A pure devotee is not within the modes of material nature. A pure devotee is situated beyond the material nature, in Suddha Sattva, in pure goodness. In pure goodness, he is acting simply as an instrument in the hands of Krishna. Just as Prabhupada mentioned in his poetry when he arrived in America, I am like a puppet in your hands. Please make me dance the way you want me to dance. So that is how a pure devotee feels. He doesn't apply his will so much. He applies his will only to be connected to Krishna, or to be Krishna conscious, and he lives it up to Krishna to use him in whichever way he wants him to. So that's what takes him beyond the modes of material nature. He simply he simply becomes Krishna's property and acts as an instrument in the hands of Krishna.
How does it work for the practicing devotee, Maharaj?
They're practicing to be situated in that platform. To become completely surrendered to Krishna, and like as it's being said here, just tolerate. Consider yourself to be totally insignificant. That means no false ego whatsoever. I'm only a humble servant of Krishna. That's my identity. And in whichever Krishna wants me to act, I will. Whatever Krishna wants me to do, I will do. And the thing is that in both the stages, practicing stage and pure stage, the difference is the pure devotee directly hears Krishna's instruction, right? From within his heart or so forth. And a practicing devotee hears Krishna's instruction through Krishna's representatives, other Vaishnavas. A practicing devotee functions under the authority of the other Vaishnavas, other senior Vaishnavas. Temple president. Whatever the temple president says, we do it. All right. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So my question is in relation to the verse, to be more tolerant than a tree. And what you were describing, the tree gets chopped down, and, the storms, the rain, it tolerates. And as I was listening, I was thinking in conventional American terms, that sounds like abuse. So I was just wondering, how, a Vaishnav will accept abuse, right? And not speak out, but it seems by doing that, culture of abuse. I'm wondering, how do we understand this idea of, tolerating, what has been inflicted upon you. Doing
Okay, good point.
I know it's a hot question.
Yeah. Well, the Vaishnava himself allows himself to be, say, abused or exploited. But the others give him the protection. You get the point? Others give him the protection. That, it is not that because he is allowing himself that everybody should take advantage of it. No. That is that's the mentality that he harbors. But that doesn't mean that he should be exploited by anybody. And in our real life also, things do happen, and we may accept it, but in the society there is law. Like somebody comes and steals the property of the Vaishnava. So Vaishnava may say, okay, I'm fine, Krishna's mercy. But the police system is there. He will catch the thief and punish the thief. So both the things, it's a two-way affair. Vaishnava may have his attitude in a certain way, but the society has its structure, his law and order system. Yes, Madam Malti.
So on the point on the topic that is being discussed, in terms of, maybe the question should be, well, how far does one tolerate? We're being, the word abuse has many levels, but let us just take it as abuse. There is abuse going on. How far does one tolerate? So Srila Prabhupada,
as I just mentioned,
Srila Prabhupada has addressed this, and he spoke to one of our god sisters who was being physically and otherwise abused, and he said, your body is not for someone else's sense gratification. Yeah. So we also need to understand this. And there's an expression to remove oneself from harm's way. So if one is being harmed physically, mentally, emotionally, thus spiritually, it's also up to the person to remove oneself from harm's way. Not that we stand, foolishly. Yeah. And if we need help in getting out of harm's way, then call for that help also.
Right.
Otherwise, there is every opportunity to, in being so-called tolerant, to allow another person to go to hell by making offenses towards a Vaishnava.
Yeah. Yeah, just as I was saying, the Vaishnava may have his attitude, but we also have the society to protect him and take care of the situation. Anyway, that is, in the ultimate sense, just consider, when we're in a society, it is one thing. But when we're on our own, say for example, like Rupa Goswami in Vrindavan, he is chanting on the bank of Radha Kunda, and a tiger comes and just drinking water just next to him. He is not worried. It's not that he doesn't know that the tiger may attack, but his attitude, well, if the tiger attacks, so let him. But Sanatana Goswami told him that, look, build a hut for yourself at least. Because he saw the tiger. That's how he actually came to know about it. Rupa Goswami is chanting, sitting on the bank, and just a tiger just came to the kunda to drink water. Rupa Goswami is totally unconcerned, but Sanatana Goswami came and suggested that, maintain some, don't expose yourself unnecessary dangers like that. Yes.
So I've been having this predicament for a while. I'm a lawyer by profession, so I strongly believe in the concept of justice. So how do we view self-respect as in contrast with false ego? And I understand your response was that the society is there, which would involve people like police or lawyers. But personally, what can we do to,
yes.
When do we stop the abuse personally?
Our attitude will be in context of time, place, and circumstances also. Right? Say, for example, when you are in a temple, your attitude is in a certain way. But when you are in a court, then you can't maintain the same attitude. And everybody will think that you gone crazy or you're so stupid. People don't understand that, like if you maintain the similar kind of attitude there. So one has to use his intelligence. Like use your intelligence to figure out in which circumstances you have to act in which way.
Just a follow-up question, Maharaj. So this, I guess, the split personality, does that affect the quality of your chanting?
It's not a split personality, it's an intelligent personality. Right? Like, just consider a policeman, he beats the criminal, but he protects a law-abiding person. He has his, consideration according to time, place, and personalities. But that doesn't mean that the policeman has a split personality. Right?
This doesn't affect the quality of his chanting overall?
No, that is beyond all these considerations. That is internal.
Thank you.
Yes, Sachin? Oh, you have a question? I see. Okay.
Maharaj, thank you for a wonderful class on what I consider one of the most important verses in our devotional lives. And my question has to do with, do these qualities of tolerance, humility, and other godlike qualities, do they develop automatically as we're chanting sincerely, or do we have to work on it
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very good point. It is in relation to the purification of our heart. As the heart gets purified, we will develop this quality. To the degree the heart gets purified, to that degree we'll develop these qualities. It's not something that we can artificially practice. Like it's just a matter of, it's a natural course of purification.
So then we should focus more on sincerity.
More on pure chanting. Yeah. Like as we chant, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. As we chant, our hearts will get purified. And to the extent our heart will get purified, to that extent we'll develop these qualities. Jashasti bhaktir bhagavat takinchana sarvai gunais tatra samasati sura. As one develops his attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to that extent he will develop the divine qualities. Those qualities will sarvai gunais tatra samasati sura. They'll automatically become manifest. The divine qualities will automatically become manifest. Okay, so last question.
Hi, everyone. Question is to be humble and tolerant on an external level is relatively easier, but compared to in the mind, because even if we are not saying something or not acting in a certain way, in the mind there is always an analysis and judgment and a feeling of rebellion when there is something which is unpleasant. So how do we bring it into the mind, which in a natural way?
Yeah, as I said, ultimately it's a matter of purification of the heart. This is not something, Vaishnava qualities are something that we externally practice to acquire. It's a matter of purification of heart. As the heart becomes purified, those qualities will naturally develop. So there is no duality as such. Externally behaving in a certain way, internally, that is called hypocrisy. And a Vaishnava is not hypocrite. His inside, outside is the same. And that means it is a matter of our purity. to the extent that we are becoming purified, to that extent our external behavior is also going to react. Thank you. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande. Hari.